Harness Players Podcast back in the studio. Short for that, the stew. Because Lord knows we're cooking up something mighty wicked for this weekend. First of two Harness Players Podcast shows for the Breeders' Crown. A crown that not only goes to the breeders, but to the owners, the trainers, the drivers, and the horses' year-end championship inside of the sport of harness racing. You might accidentally have clicked on this looking for Breeders' Cup stuff, which stay, please stay. I promise that this stuff is going to be as exciting, if not more, than what the Breeders' Cup has to offer in just a few weeks' time. But this weekend, the Eliminations up at Woodbine Mohawk Park, that's in Canada, just north of America, on North America. Kind of confusing when you think about it. 2-year-olds in competition on Friday, and then there's going to be another segment that you can find either in Podcast World or on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. You can especially find it if you're subscribed to the In the Money Media YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers so Pete Fornatow can go buy his daughter an ice cream cone. That's the stipulation. She has never ate ice cream in her whole life. And so 15,000 subscribers is going to give her the chance. You have the chance to make a little girl's dreams come true. Speaking of little girl's dreams coming true, I have two wonderful gents joining me on the show here today to talk Breeders' Crown Eliminations. This has been in some of their dream journals, to my understanding. Mike Prebosi to my left, John Rallis to my right. You know Mike from all of the other podcasts that he does here where I annoy him. And you know John from every racetrack in North America, because no matter what, he just shows up on the TV. You don't even have to do Beetlejuice. You have to say his name. I don't even have to say your name, and you just show up in front of me, which is flattering in some ways. But John, I mean, your arms got to be tired.
Pretty tired, but I didn't just show up today. I said, why not join you guys to talk some shop? And it's always fun when I join you guys. It's always look, we do this off camera, so this is quite a pleasure to do it and just debate, but we'll keep it PG.
And he's tuning in from his lavish apartment paid for exclusively by all of the racetracks hiring him, but more importantly, all of the pick fives that he hits on Noah's Ark combo. Now, you have more singles in there and just a couple twos on your pick five tickets that you hit for like $5-10. We're going to talk pick five, and it's a special type of pick five for the Friday card at Woodbine Mohawk Park. There are, I believe the total is 7 Breeders' Crown Eliminations on Friday, 8 on Saturday. A reminder, this is the Friday races discussion. You'll have to go to the other video or podcast to find the Saturday discussion, but conveniently 5 of these Breeders' Crown Eliminations align in a middle pick five, right, John? It's not the late pick five, technically. It's a middle pick five, races 6 through 10.
So now when they've got usually about 12 races to 13 races, they'll card 3 pick fives. And I want to say there's 6 Breeders' Crown Eliminations on Friday.
There's 5 here. And then I thought there were 2 for the 2-year-old trotting colts because those were a 6-horse field and a 7-horse field. So that is 7. I at least learned how to count.
You are correct. You are correct. There is 7.
They call me Dracula the way I be counting. Let's talk this first Breeders' Crown elimination. Well, that we're going to talk about tonight or today, whenever you're watching this. It could be at any time, really. Race number 6 is technically the 3rd elimination of the night, but this one for the 2-year-old trotting fillies, top 5 go to final inside of this race, as I've screwed up my StreamYard trying to get the graphic up. But we have 9 going postward inside of this first elimination. You got a brief look at the field. Mike, let's start with you. Obviously, Set Your Sights High, post 4, morning line favorite. Southwind Chaska, the second choice. Set Your Sights High has kind of avoided some of the big dances, sticking purely in Sire Stakes company, finally stepping back onto the Grand Circuit against a horse that raced really well over at the Red Mile. How do you rank those two inside of this opening leg of the middle pick 5?
I like horses that can go to different racetracks and perform. And this one, Set Your Sights High, has been able to do that, right? She's done very good at Lexington. She's been very good at Scioto. She just crushed a field at Dayton from an outside post. She's versatile. She's versatile on different racetracks and different surfaces. So yes, you mentioned she stayed in Sire Stakes, but those are big pots. I mean, look at some of these pots. This horse has made $700,000 so far this year. So how can you blame them for staying home? And the fact that they've shipped to different spots and done very well. Dexter has, come and been to 3 different racetracks to drive this horse. So for me, all signs say that that's worth his time. The fact that they're here after a really nice season, I like her quite a bit in here. And I do think you'll get a fair enough price given the other horse in this race. And I do think that she's probably be my single for the pick 5. The rest of them are just okay for me. That Vernon race with Storybook Love, to watch that race, there was no way that horse was getting to the winner there. They were going for big money there too at Vernon. This horse has raced well over this racetrack. And I do think, has some merit maybe underneath, especially the 10-1 morning line. You get Matt Bax. I mean, anything that comes from his barn, especially young horses on the trotting side, I'm interested in. You got Todd Ratchford there too. They're not going to take much money, those connections here in this spot. So that would sort of be my exacta partner. But I'd be pretty heavy on Set Your Sights High for this pick 5. I'm curious what John has to say, because I know he's tied into a lot of these Red Mile races, and I know that he likes horses coming from there. And I also want to point out my Ontario Sire Stakes. Thanks to Sugar Doyle for this. We are in Canada for this Breeders' Crown, so that's why I busted.
A week late though, since the Gold Finals or Super Finals were last week, but better late than never. Like John, for instance, with most of the shows that we do, but he was here on time. I was the one who was late to this recording. To punt to you, John, I'm kind of in agreement with Mike here, mostly in the sense that I liked Storybook Love's form coming into this race, but it's tough for me to justify how she could be a win candidate when you're looking at horses like Southwind Chaska and Set Your Sights High. It just looks like this is a race where your top horses, just ability-wise, are in a different league than some of the others, and that just makes it tough to figure out how some of these other ones may be able to break through if the top ones are on their game.
I completely agree. I mean, Storybook Love, Todd's done a really, really good, strong job with her. I mean, even Chris, a couple of times he sat behind her. She puts herself in pretty good spots. She's a nice filly, really nice filly. But I just think, like Mike said, I think those other 2 that you mentioned are just better. And the lineup's likely going to be 3-4, 4-3, isn't it? I mean, it looks like that's going to be the case for me, unless somebody else kind of leaves out of there that maybe we don't expect. Southwind Chaska has been great all season long. She's put herself in great spots. She's gotten along with Timmy, but for me, it's kind of it's tough for me to go against the Set Your Sights High, right? I mean, I think she's done great things, as Mike alluded to. She travels well, she races well, and how about the first crop of In Range? I mean, we talk about some of these new sires. He has pumped out some great stock there in Ohio, and so many of them have made upwards of 6 figures and above. A couple of which I think 500,000 and above, with this filly being one of them. She's handy. She looks like she's got the gears to even stretch out on the big track again, which we've already seen in Lexington. So it's not going to be an issue for her. Chalky way for me to kick off the pick 5, and I think she's going to merit a lot of respect.
And she is another potential champion that started her career at Oak Grove, winning in a Kentucky Sire Stake, and then won in a kind of enigmatic Kentucky Sire Stakes final, where half the field actually got taken out of it because of some horses getting their wheels hooked and breakers and stuff. Set Your Sights High, though, was able to go down the straight and narrow and win quite handily. I get the logic. And even looking at Southwind Chaska's last win, John, I know you remember it too. Like, Busy Miss Lissy, solid horse, sitting a perfect trip. Made sense that she was going to close ground, but I feel like the weakest part for Southwind Chaska is that last 1/8 of a mile. And if Dunn is in that stalking position, it's tough to imagine how much grittier Oscarson's horse gets at the end, considering, again, like another yard or 2, she potentially doesn't win that last race.
Yeah, but she's been rated really nicely by Timmy, at the Meadowlands, but then she goes to Lexington and she had to, make a couple of moves in that 51 and 4 mile, and she trotted home really, really well. So I think for her, she showed a little bit of a different dimension there. Yeah, you could say she worked out a 2-hole trip, but still she chased some quick panels there. She still had enough on the end of it. So it just, maybe, it's been, some of those margin of victories have been a little bit closer because some of those races have become a sprint, but this is a filly who seems to be getting stronger as the season progresses.
And this being the first leg, part of me kind of wants to lean on the 3 more than the 4, even though I think the 4 is a more likely winner. What kind of price differential do we truly get here? Because I feel like Series Sights High could even be even money inside of this race, and Southwind Chaska goes like 5-2.
You know what? I really do think, the morning lines, I think, are going to be in this particular spot with these two fillies. I think it'll be fairly accurate. I do think that the Melander trainee is going to go off as the race favorite, but like you said, Ray, it's going to be awfully close. But I'm curious to see how many are people going to merit like some of those Meadowlands tries or those New Jersey Classic tries over some of the tries in Ohio. I don't think you should downgrade those efforts whatsoever. That's a good group over there, and she certainly held her own. And again, she's not winning by getting lucky, tripping out. She's crushing them. So yeah,
right. Like what I'd like to say is the problem is there's nobody else to take money in the race. So the thought of to get the 3, 5-2 in here is just, I think, impossible. I mean,
it only happens. It only happens if the 4 takes more money than we anticipate. Because I don't imagine Emma's Mystery CCL being as deep a closer as she is going to be something like 5-1 inside this race. She's probably going to be more like 7s or something like that. More likely than not. We move into the second leg of this middle pick 5 Breeders' Crown Elimination. 2-year-old pacing Colts and Geldings. This is a race. Like this is we've been doing so much coverage of harness racing all year long, and we've had some doozies this year, but this was the first time in a while I was looking at a past performance page, and I was actually I was impressed with what's potentially going to get thrown down here. Brandon Boulevard coming in off of an admittedly opportunistic win, but he still had to fight from the back of the pack and over the top to win there in that International Stallion Series division. Al Poppy, huge rebound off of that Metro Pace performance that I didn't really think was that bad, given how the pace of that race set up. It was surprising that he went as quickly as he did, and Malillo able to drop a decent amount of time as well. Do note the graphic is missing the morning line on Dad. He's 10-1 inside of this race. I don't know why that happened, but I guess even aside from them, John, like Lindy Dragonwater, Ohio champion, solid horse, was well beaten last time, but does still kind of fit into the fray. Fragment, we don't really know where his bottom is coming in off of a romp, and Windor was a bit of a surprise for Vanderkemp too in some Grand Circuit action earlier this year at Mohawk. This is a pretty salty race.
A really, really good race. I said it even before we went live. I was telling Mike that this is the best betting elim of the weekend, in my opinion. And you know what? Brandon Boulevard deserves to be favorite. His effort at Lexington, was incredible. He never saw a set of pylons. He was, on the outside the entire mile, and he was 10-1. There should not have been that big of a price discrepancy between Brandon Boulevard and Frantic Hanover, in my opinion. I mean, Frantic Hanover, I thought he deserved to be the favorite. But you got double digits on Brandon Boulevard, who has been sharp all season long, was coming off a big victory in that Bluegrass division. For me, he's definitely the favorite of the race. And you mentioned a bunch of them in here, Ray, and a lot of them are racing so well. And look, I mean, Windor, like you said, he's been chasing Bojangles all year. He's under the radar. He's never really participated in some marquee Grand Circuit events like as many as the other ones have, right? I mean, he did win a division of the Champlain, albeit it wasn't as tough of a group as he's going to be facing now. But I really like Fragment in this spot, Ray. I think he's a great value player in this spot. I thought he raced so well in the Metro. He just worked out a brutal trip. He had plenty of go. You watch his stretch drive. This colt was loaded. And what did he do after an effort like that? He went back to a couple of New York Sire Stakes event or the Big Apple, and he crushed in a couple of outings. I mean, this colt has the versatility. He's sharp right now. He's done a lot of racing. 12 start. This is going to be start number 13. It could be potentially 14 by next week. That's a lot for a rookie pacer, but I mean, he for a rookie, any rookie, I should say. But he's raced really well. He's got a good draw to work with, and I think Jason's going to have a lot more confidence in him tonight, especially given the way he raced at the Metro. He was super.
And you hadn't even mentioned Sweet Love and Lou, third place in the Metro, went a big mile, finishing runner-up to Malillo, who, again, from week 1 to week 2 at the Red Mile, dropped 2 seconds pretty much to take that lifetime mark last time in that International Stallion Stakes division. Mike, how do you orientate yourself here? Because at the same time, we're mentioning all these horses have great shots, but they're all the principles in the betting. Brandon Boulevard's going to take money. Al Poppy's going to take money. Even if you go Malillo, he could potentially get lost in the fray, but this has a potential if you're mapping your pick 5 where you could spread yourself real thin on some thin prices.
Yeah. See, this is one of those elimination races where I say it's an elimination where the big money is on the line next week. And you have a lot of horses that they're going to need to qualify for the final. And there's no guarantees in this spot because I think that pretty much all of them could, maybe not the 8. Maybe that's why you submitted like a minute the morning line. Maybe this horse just has no chance to make the final, but the others do. I mean, obviously the 1, the 2, the 3, and 4, all, even the 5. I mean, John mentions the 5. This horse has been 30-1 and 34-1 in its last 2 starts and is racing extremely well. Really stays home, but is getting checks in big spots. It's made $200,000. I would try to get a price in this race. I would be looking for maybe the Brandon Boulevards of the world to kind of take back. Yes, get that closing kick, but do I really want him at sub 2-1 in this race in an elimination, having to come from way off the pace whenever the top 5 make the final? No, I don't really think that I want that. I want the Lindy Dragon Waters of the world. I want the Fragments of the world. I want even the Winders of the world that can really move up off a race like this. And I think some of these horses that are very, very good in Lexington, beware whenever they ship up to different racetracks that you have to be careful with some of those horses. So that's my approach in this race. I want a price. It's an elimination. I hope maybe you get some conservative drives on some of the big contenders, and maybe we can get an upset.
Mike, this is going to be, I mean, what are we going to see off the gate, right? I mean, you mentioned several contenders, and all of them are handy racehorses. All of them, I think a lot of them believe that they can put forth a pretty good effort. And again, Brandon Boulevard draws the inside. I'm sure Dexter's going to want to push out of there, but you have to feel confident he's going to make the final for sure. Is he going to work out a trip good enough to win the race? And as to Mike mentioned, nobody's disputing, in my opinion, who the best colt in the race is. I think the body of work speaks volumes that Brandon Boulevard, to me, he's the best. He's raced the best all season long. But I'm willing to take a price here. Mike's absolutely right. You have to, because there's going to be action, and there's a lot of sharp colts coming into this elimination. That's what makes it so interesting, is how many of these colts are coming off poor efforts.
Well, I was going to say even debatably the best horses in this race are post-burden. Like Brandon Boulevard, I don't think there's any way he's on the lead at the quarter. I would put that at maybe like a 10% chance he's able to quarter. Al Poppy similarly. Like they're both drawn into positions where they might have to go a first over grinding type of trip, which to some extent could benefit a horse like Windor, who's going to be coming off of it no matter what from that draw. Sweet Love and Lou might be able to get into a forward position. And I mean, he lost to Melillo, you could argue, because that horse got a better trip. Sweet Love and Lou won a massive race at Lexington, which again, to Mike's point, you can evaluate accordingly, but to string out as long as he did and still finish second, was able to get third in the Metro, like that horse is a player.
But he,
of this race.
To Mike's, I mean, I know what Mike says about be weary about horses coming in from Lexington, and I've heard plenty of people, say that as well. And I think it just really depends on the horse. But Sweet Love and Lou has raced well, as Ray mentioned, all season long at Mohawk. Yeah. He's had some really, really bad tough trips, right? Locked in journeys. But this is a colt who started off his career being really, really hot, right? And I think James has done a really good job trying to manage him. I know that Danny Legacy's done, trainer Danny Legacy's done a great job in terms of trying to just keep him just more quiet, right? He's tinkered with the bit. He's tinkered with his bridle at times. You don't want to get a young horse with that much talent, that much speed, just too revved up. But he raced really well, and he's starting to show that versatility. And this is a really nice colt. Again, this is a really nice colt, but this is a wicked rookie pacing crop.
And that said, I probably would go 4, 5, 6 inside of this race, because I feel like Melillo might have to be too aggressive from the outside draw, and I don't really know that he takes this field pillar to post. And similarly, Bartlett had no opportunity from an outside post in the Metro, so you have to imagine, given this draw, he's going to gun. McDonald's going to gun. They're probably going to get into favorable positions, and Brandon Boulevard could gut it out. But like Mike said, if he's going to be 7-5, 6-5 inside this race, do you want him first up? No, I don't think so.
And you know what, and you guys mentioned Windor as well, he's 30-something to 1 because he's been chasing Bojangles all season long, who, like he's the best rookie pace colt in the division. Obviously a perfect 10 for 10 in his young career. But I mean, he literally has been racing so well chasing him. When Doug McNair looks at the program and looks at this group that he's taking on tonight, he don't see a Bojangles in this group. And that's not to say the group isn't really good, but you have to feel like if he's racing so well against the colt that everybody deems as the best, how is he not going to take a shot in here?
And we'll get to whether he is the best or not later on. We're going to move into race number 8, third leg of this middle pick 5. 10 aligning for this Breeders' Crown elimination for 2-year-old trotting fillies. Top 5 advance to the final. I thought this was a pretty solid elimination, obviously coming off the heels of a much deeper field, but Nezuko Kamado is an interesting commodity coming out of New York. Marcus Melander really knows how to milk that program for purse money, and then these horses resurface in the biggest dances of the year. So it's always kind of tough to figure out where exactly they're going to fit when these other horses have been racing on the Grand Circuit. Bingo Night, I think honestly is a good horse, but I don't know how good she is. I don't know how good Denarius is or Shimmering Hanover. Mike, this is a division where there is potentially as much upside as there is maybe downside to these horses.
Agree totally. I don't think I'd want Bingo Night, and that line looks good on paper, but this horse got a perfect trip, right? I mean, they'd get away from the 10 post, but the 1 to 5 horse just stopped at the top of the stretch, absolutely stopped, and this one got the jump on everyone else. So that's a horse I'd be probably trying to fade in here. I'm interested in the 1. The post is a little bit scary to me just because at Mohawk, the 1 was not great, but that was a jog burger last time. And at Vernon, if you watch that, there was really no urgency at all from the driver. They were getting home in that spot. Now you get Scotty Z. I think that this horse is coming in very sharp, 3 straight wins. And I do think is fast enough to be, I think, taking over early. Not going to get the front early, but maybe, an early move and then go again, similar to that Vernon spot. So I do like that horse in that race. I do think that Denarius is an interesting commodity in here just because underexposed, right? Only 4 lifetime starts, has a win over the racetrack, has won at Meadowlands, a nice race at Lexington last time, takes money every single time. This is a step up for this horse. And the outside post is a little iffy, but I do think, like you said, there's upside here. So those would probably be my 2. I would just be 1 and 9, and I think I'd probably live and die with those 2 in here.
And obviously, John, with the pylon post for Nezuko Kamado, you do have to imagine what type of trip she's going to go here. She obviously has been okay making these quarter moves and stuff like that. You look at the Kentucky Stallion management race, that was a pretty tough mile she had to go taking over when she did, and then holding on at 30-1 to upset inside of that race, but likely going to take play this time around. Do you think that maybe the post helps her or does it hurt her?
You know what? I think what's helped her is the trotting hobbles, clearly, right? I mean, they added it 4 starts ago. That's clearly what's helped her. I know she made a miscue the first time out, but she's been strong, right? That's been her biggest. She's shown flashes of talent early on. I don't think the post is going to hurt her. She's had inside draws to work with, at Vernon in over last few tries. She's gotten away cleanly off the car. I don't think that's going to hurt her too well. I don't think there needs to be too much of a rush to push out of there, to your point, Ray, right? I mean, she can ease out of there off the car from the inside. There is going to be a lot of speed in this race, though. And that's the thing. So you do want to get yourself in a pretty good spot, but you also want to get to the final in one piece, right? You don't want to, obviously blow up pushing out of there in that final turn, trying to jostle for early positioning and then make a miscue when you've got X amount of $700,000 on the line, in the final. So this filly's raced really well. Look, her big track effort at Hoosier, I loved Creator. In that spot. Locked in Journey in that start prior, was absolutely loaded, never found a seam. And, she was following the stablemate and at head of the lane. I was just saying, all right, I'm a winner. And she just kept rolling. That was a huge effort. That's a long stretch there. And she just kept going. So this filly, I think she merits a lot of respect. But this is also a pretty interesting race because I think you've got a filly to the inside in Jailbird Jog who you got a chance to see at Oak Grove kick off her career. She's got talent, Ray. Right? I mean, she's got a lot of talent. Trip was a little bit too tough next time up, but you know what? For me, I think I'm going to go to Denarius from the outside. I really do think that this is a filly that's coming into this race not only fresh, but she's coming in sharp. And you got a chance. I got a chance to speak with Domenico Cecere after she got the job done at Mohawk. Was it in that Champlain division? And he mentioned, look, we're taking a little bit of a different approach here this year. We're starting the horses off much later as opposed to earlier. So we're going to see how that works out. I'd say it's working out well for this filly. She was first up last time at Lexington. She raced well. She can take some air. I think this is a filly that's really, really sharp, but this is a wide open race here, I'd say. I think there's fillies that stand out, but again, a race that I could see going a few different ways.
I could see if you're getting Denarius as on this morning line says like the 5th choice, there's value there in the multis. I don't know that that's how she plays though, given it's Dexter Dunn, given that this is also, again, like your standout horses here are Jailbird Jog, Nezuko Kamado, and debatably Bingo Night. So Denarius is going to take play and is probably going to get hammered a bit more because of the Dun factor. And so that's where I'd rather lean on a horse like Jailbird Jog, given the post improvement. And she raced phenomenally both weeks at Lexington. I know that the tempo for the first week in the Bluegrass wasn't really that hard, but she never saw a pylon and just grinding forward there, trotted the back half in 55-2, and she was geared down. Like she was loping in the lane because James McDonald just had it so in hand and still won by like 3 lengths when coming to basically a stop of his own choosing. The post next time out didn't work and the tempo didn't work, but then she only lost by 2 lengths. So like, I know fast time, red clay, blah, 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 but like she's always been, she has to prove it, but she's always been a good horse. And even at Oak Grove, she was a really good horse, and she only lost that final to Anthony McDonald's admission because he was too patient, because he was trying to be too careful and getting her into the race and not and not letting her get too into herself, because she was a very hot filly to my recollection. And that's one of the reasons why they tried racing her from off the speed so much, to teach her to get into it, to settle down. And then eventually Anthony, after that miscue, said, I don't need to drive her anymore. And the Kentucky Sire Stakes was a bit of a learning experience, some deep waters there. But it seems like she really came together in those last 2 weeks at Lexington to be more of the horse that I thought she could be watching her race at Oak Grove. So she's a logical one. I'll level up Nezuko Kamado on your guys' opinion. I probably was underplaying her a bit because I just didn't really know how to really evaluate a horse who won in hand in 54 at Vernon. Like the Hoosier race probably is a better litmus test for what she has to offer than those Vernon races. But otherwise, I think the only other horse I think is an interesting B. What about Svanstedt here with Sparks? 15-1. Obviously, this is maybe like a second or third string from his contingent, but maybe it's just because I've seen Svanstedt pop up out of nowhere enough times. She's going to be forward. She's going to be in a good spot. Can she just work out a trip and maybe surprise in that way?
Well, she worked out a trip last time, right? I mean, she had every chance in Lexington, and she was just third best in that spot, and she was just able to get up in the closing strides there to get. She got up over Jailbird Jog in the closing stride. So I mean, again, for me, I really don't have too much use for that filly in this particular spot. I think there's others that I prefer. And you know what? For me, Nezuko Kamado, the talent is there. It's how much stock do you put in what you're seeing in that New York Sire Stakes division with those trotting fillies versus what you see with some of these other ones that have and what they've been taking on in their respective jurisdictions, right? So I think the talent is there. Again, the speed, but she has had things go her own way. But for me, the biggest thing was what we saw from her on the big track at Hoosier. That was the biggest tell that we have this filly merits a lot of respect. But Sparks, like you said, Ray, good draw to work with, just not for me. But to your point about Jailbird Jog, still seems a little bit hot to me. We saw that in Oak Grove a little bit. I mean, it looked like at times she was kind of driving James. I don't know if James sometimes had a choice
Anthony,
to go. But even with James in Lexington on those couple of tries, right? So I don't know what to. I think she's got all the talent in the world, but One Bell, I think it's indicative that he's going to Jailbird Jog over One Bell, who over her first couple of tries looked like she was going to be a top contender in this division, right? So James books off of her after a victory in an overnight last time out at Wagon. She's one that if she can piece it all together, I think she's, a bit of a sleeper player, but I don't know if she's all the way back just yet.
And she's somewhat well-bred. Miss Savannah Bell, from my memory, she was just kind of a level Grand Circuit type. Like she made money. She got checks. She finished in the board on some major races, but she wasn't the cream of her crop, so to speak. Matchup time in leg 4. Matchup time, rematch time technically in this Breeders' Crown elimination for 2-year-old pacing Colts and Geldings. Metro Pace winner Bojangles versus Metro Pace runner-up Frantic Hanover, who's coming in off of yet another defeat in that International Stallion Stakes division to Brandon Boulevard. Frantic Hanover having to go a massive mile, though, inside of that race, all things considered. First and foremost, is it really clear which one of these guys is better than the other? Because my takeaway from that Metro Pace is Bob's drive won the race. The horse was good enough, but Bob making the moves, Bob having the lead, and Frantic Hanover being pocketed as long as he was helped Bojangles win that race. So I don't really know if I can say right now that Bojangles is truly better than Frantic Hanover, but am I in the wrong here?
I think he had every chance. I still thought Frantic had a really good shot to get to him. Okay. And I'll tell you what, it's not, he never even had a chance to look him in the eye. That's the thing. It's a Bo, when horses come up alongside of him, he just takes off even more. I think Bo's the best colt. And you know what? Like, it's funny because I was having this conversation with Randy the other day. He's been great, but it's like, there's other colts where you've just looked at them and you say they're overpowering. I felt that about a Lupron. I felt that about a Confederate. I felt like about that with some other colts. It's like I'm looking at a Bojangles for a 10 for 10, and he's so good. And like I don't see him. Sometimes it took me a little bit of some time to realize how overpowering it was. And what hit me was seeing those other horses who raced against him, especially in the Metro, what they did when they left and what they're doing in races that he wasn't in. I mean, for me, like I said, it's a really good rookie pacing group, and Bojangles hasn't lost yet. He's beaten them. He's done it comfortably. Yeah, it was a good drive, but again, Frantic had every opportunity. I really still believe he had every chance. He had more than enough time. I look at the head of the lane, and when he angled out, I looked around and I said he might be beat now, and he wasn't. Again, he never even had a chance to look him in the eye, because as soon as he started getting to Bobby's wheel, Bojangles took off again. We're looking at the best pacing colt right now in North America, and there's a reason he's 10 for 10.
I mean, maybe I have to go rewatch because Bojangles his lead was diminishing at the end, but I didn't really focus in on whether Bob was wrapping up versus Frantic Hanover.
Watch after the wire as well when the colt takes off.
Yeah, he was never
going by.
Because he didn't get out until within the last eighth of a mile.
He had time. He had, with his trip, he could have gone by if he could have. Do you not think so, Mike?
No, I don't think that Bojangles was ever losing that race, and he's been very impressive. Especially, I mean, he's 10 for 10. That's obvious, but that Metro final, if you watch that race, he was just never losing. The horse just refuses to lose. That's my thing. It wasn't the drive that won it. It's the horse. It's the horse that's digging in, that's saying, you know what, for lack of a better, like, screw you. You're not going to beat me. No matter my trip, no matter your trip, I'm going to win. And that's, you don't see that very often. But
I thought the drive would, listen, Mike, I know the colt, whatever. I thought the drive was sharp too. To Ray's point, he was using the Alpapi as a pick as well. I mean, he could have put the afterburners on. He still wanted to kind of keep Frantic in a position that he wasn't going to get a shot. But he ended up getting a clean shot anyways.
And let's talk theoretically. Like let's really dumb this down for sake of. If both of these horses are hundreds, and you have 100 on the lead who's able to get a breather, and 100 in the pocket who's going to have to pick up, the horse who has the breather and can pick up as the other one is building that momentum to engage, it makes sense Bojangles is able to hold off Frantic. Like, I'm not saying that Frantic Hanover should have won off that trip. Again, that's a testament to the trip Bob McClure worked out with Bojangles. I'm also in agreement with you, John. When you look at Bojangles, he looks like a 3-year-old.
Yep.
He's so developed and built compared to some of these other 2-year-olds that factor's still in play. I'm only raising this point because I think for him to be like that true gritty, refuse to lose type, that's going to show up here in the Breeders' Crown. And I'm ready to admit that was potentially there in the Metro, but just the circumstances of it, I think there's still room for Frantic Hanover. But again, it's getting to a somewhat pedantic kind of point where Bojangles is as good as Frantic Hanover, if not a little better. And if he just gets the lead and Frantic Hanover has to work from behind the 8 ball, do these questions even matter?
No,
he's on his own court too. Think about that. I mean, this is his house, and this is the place that he's been the entire season, and they're not. I don't think they're going to beat him over this racetrack. That's just. I don't really. I do think it's going to be extremely difficult to beat this horse. And now the undefeated streak matters. I mean, really, if he wins these next 2 races, he's probably horse of the year in Canada. I think.
I think he's already wrapped up horse of the year in Canada. That's a foregone conclusion. But obviously, perfect record would be really cool to build off as a sophomore. It was interesting to hear. Doc speak with me after the super final victory and kind of say, look, Doc wanted the number of starts to be around 10. And, obviously when you have a colt that's racing so well, he has a bit too hard on himself though, Ray. I mean, I know Bob has had to urge him a couple of times, but that's because he waits on them. And as Bob mentioned, good horses do that, right? So, but all these miles have been stress-free. And my biggest indication, though, Mike and Ray, and for me, this was my concern, and I've seen it in some horses in the past. Sometimes I worry when horses haven't had an opportunity to get stretched out before a big race, because do they have that in their arsenal? Bob's been going soft middle halves in a couple of weeks. Doc jokingly made comments about it, saying any horse can lose in a sprint. Bob's been doing everything he can to look after this colt and make sure that he's doing it, but he's doing it easy. And when it was time to step on the accelerator in the Metro, he had it in his back pocket. Even Doc was concerned. He said, look, we haven't seen his fastest start leading up to that Metro was his first lifetime start. Usually horses get faster. He never got faster, but that wasn't because the colt didn't have that speed. It's because Bob was doing everything he could to kind of keep him fresh for the Metro. And when he was asked to go faster, he certainly did. But he's the best. I don't know if I would say the morning line should be a 6-5, 9-5 discrepancy. I could see this being a 3-5, 3-1 race. Honestly, that's how I see the odds being deciphered.
And another thing to note, Bojangles actually keeping Doc Moore in training. If you remember, after the Metro pace, he was planning to retire this year. And when a horse like this goes into your barn, you can't just stop the race.
Not in the retirement account. That's what he's doing.
You know what? Ray brought up a great point too about just the size of this colt. For whatever reason, Ray, if you look at like just Doc's history, these horses, when they're bought as yearlings and you see them race, like they become like specimens.
Like Century Pharaoh was a pretty big horse too. Yeah.
You should have seen the Stay Hungry he bought in London. He looks like a 4-year-old.
We're going to move on to the last leg of this Friday middle pick 5 Breeders' Crown elimination. The lone elimination for the 2-year-old pacing fillies. Top 8 go to final. And there's only one elimination when you see a horse like Lua Deepa drop into the box. She's going to scare off a few. Dea and Seaside Shuffle, the 2 receiving buys. I really like Dea. I think Jack Darling is a really nice Bulldog Hanover filly in that one, just from the few races I saw of her over the Grand Circuit. But this seems like a pretty short and sweet deal. As much as Mike likes to downgrade Red Mile races, I mean, Lua Deepa has just been so good everywhere else. Is it worth even talking about anything here?
I mean, but really, that's a world record mile there. So she's going to regress off of that.
Time-wise, yeah, but ability-wise, I don't know.
I mean, you would think she's going to regress off of that start, right? I don't know that this is the time to try to play against or anything like that, but certainly not going to be cranked for this race. And she's lost in the past, so not much though. She's the best right now. It's hard to really bet a lot of money against her, but if she would lose, I mean, I wouldn't be completely shocked, especially coming off that effort.
I think she's pound for pound the best 2-year-old in the sport. Pound for pound. Bojangles is the best colt. I think Lua Deepa is the best 2-year-old in the sport. I think she's remarkable. She was on a line that one in the PA Sire Stakes final. She did not race good at all, but you could clearly tell something was amiss. Her first lifetime start, she was conservatively handled, and she got beat by Bahama Mama that one time off she worked out a pretty good trip and got beat fair and square in that outing, and that's a pretty nice filly as well. But this Lua Deepa's, she's got gears. It's remarkable. Like, this is to me the best 2-year-old in the sport, and she's going to be awfully tough to beat here in this spot. But you're going to have to try and find some value in the exacta.
Has that been why she's drifted in the stretch too? Is she still on a line when she's accelerating? Because at Lexington she drifted, and She's a Great Lady she drifted too, but still was sprinting away.
Well, the drifting to me doesn't matter if they're still going high gear and still gaining, right? But it was weird. I guess the steering might have been a little bit of an issue there for a couple of starts, but to me it seems like it's gotten much better.
And again, like, potentially regress, sure. I feel like that race at Lexington was consistent with what she was coming in from at Woodbine in the She's a Great Lady. Like she was, and Ronnie didn't even have to ask her. Ronnie didn't have to ask her in either of those starts. So the only way she regresses in my mind is not from her own ability, is if, something unpredictable happens, like she scopes weird or something like that. And even then she may still be able to win in 50 inside of a race like this. For what it's worth, I'll note that I think She's a Bulldog is an interesting horse for Burke also, maybe as an underneath type. Just didn't really have things going well and her entire career. And then all of a sudden it pieced together in that super final for her to get second. That just seems like a nice primer race to come in and maybe, get a good piece inside of this Breeders'
Maybe she didn't like Lexington. Do you ever think about that?
Well, she also didn't like Mohawk. She broke stride.
She made breaks early on. This was a filly that Burke they said was their best pacing filly. They talked her up as their
Shows
best.
what he knows.
But you know what? She I don't know what went amiss there early on, but she made breaks everywhere. I mean, even Yannick came down on a Thursday. He came over on a Thursday night to drive her to an OSS Gold. That's what he thought of her, and she ran again over on that first turn. You remember that, don't you, Ray?
Yeah, and you know, Yannick has so many other things he wants to do on Thursday nights now. So when he goes to drive a horse, you make a note of that. Final thoughts here for this Friday card. Obviously, we touched on most of the Breeders' Crown eliminations for the 2-year-olds. There are a couple early in the card, and John, as I understand, you're really looking forward to some of those, right?
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that Breeders' Crown elimination for the 2-year-old trotting colts there. You mentioned about, Lexington lovers, Mike, and you know what? Some people were saying that Lendurance might have been a Lexington lover. And Endurance raced super, and he should have won off that trip in the Mohawk Million. I really do believe it. I think he could be tough to beat if he's fresh enough. But I really like the way Diabolic Hill raced. He really bounced back in a big way in that Mohawk Million. I was skeptical going in because he was coming off a couple of, lackluster miscues, I should say, right? Miscues and maybe fumbly gated efforts. And he bounced back in a big, big way, never saw a set of pylons and kept on trotting. For me, Endurance, I think the time off is going to benefit him because you could see the way Chris was racing him. He would give him a couple weeks, 3 weeks, even 4 weeks in advance of his starts. He would manage him nicely. The fact that he turned around, he won that Kentucky Sire Stakes final at Lexington, shipped to Mohawk within a 6-day time frame or 7-day time frame. I think that affected the colt. So I do think he could be tough to beat, but I'm going to get a better price on Diabolic Hill. A colt I think's got lots of talent too.
I don't know. One thing you did say with Endurance is like should have won, but I mean Apex was vicious in that race.
Yeah,
I mean
absolutely.
Endurance kicked the race and won. Honestly, I mean really he just got beat. I mean that by a better horse. And
he was. I thought he was a tiring second though. I completely agree with you on how he got beat, but I thought he was tiring late. Like I thought, given what the trip he worked out and the colt we've seen, I thought he should have finished up a little bit better. The other horses who finished third and fourth were gaining. He was tiring in my opinion.
And worth noting, Apex, Atlantic Summer absent because they get buys into the final. Winning the Peter Houghton and the Jim Doherty Memorial give you automatic berths to the Breeders' Crown final. So if you open these eliminations wondering where's potentially the best 2-year-old trotting colt in the whole sport, he'll be there next week.
I think you'll still get to see them tomorrow, I believe. I think you'll see them qualifying.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, they want to at least get a mile under their belts. But that does it for this. This is the Friday discussion. And again, there is a Saturday discussion for Breeders' Crown eliminations also coming to the In the Money Media Network on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. If you want to catch the 3-year-olds and older competing, that's a stellar card as well. Of course, you'll find that wherever else you get your podcasts. And again, I'm only asking for 15,000 subscribers. That's so little when you think that Mr. Beast has 150 million. If you could just take 15,000 from him and give them to us, that's going to go farther, in my opinion, than they would in Jimmy's pockets. That said, I'm Ray Cotolo. These two are those two. And we hope you enjoyed this and catch every other great piece of content we have coming here on the In the Money Media Network.